What up, everybody? This is Beyond Binary, and today I want to share with you some of the art that I've collected from the big water can company, Liquid Death. I really like this company because on the back of all of their boxes is this. So here's Liquid Death. This is the Severed Lime collection. I think it's so funny. I'm kind of into like dark stuff, and so like I just think that this is hilarious. But look at the art on the back of this box. I think it's really cool, really special. And so I just wanted to show you some of the artwork that I've been collecting from the backs of these boxes. I cut them out. I have like a little box cutter. Yeah. Here it is. This is my box cutter. And so I'll put the boxes in here and I'll cut it out. I got this on Amazon for like, I don't know, 10 bucks. And then look at these. Aren't these cool? Like, I could frame these and sell them for like 10 bucks, or I could hang on to them, frame them, and sell them for like, I don't know, $15 or $20 per picture in the future when they've kind of become outdated and rare. That's my hope, that they'll change the artwork. I don't know, they've changed it once before, but really only once they had different boxes going, different sized cans. But I really like these. That one told a little bit of a story. Mostly they have cool artwork. I've got a few doubles I'm really proud of. Some cool. This one's Slaughterberry. I think this one's the old mango chainsaw when the cans were a little bit wider and a little smaller actually. I think they were only 16 ounce, now they're 19. Yeah, got these really cool pictures. Some of these I've actually paid for online. I've got a huge collection. Look at how many of these things that I've collected. And like I said, there's a lot of doubles in here. So, you know, as I flip through my collection, you'll see quite a few of the same box arts. But I really think that these are special. And I mean, I think this company is pretty special. I think it's a really cool collection. So I just wanted to share it with you guys today before we jump into our conversation. It's all falling apart. Hey, if you've never read that book, Things Fall Apart by Enua Akebe, you gotta read it. It's an amazing book. It's like Brave New World, but Africa. I don't know how else to describe it. Wrong place and wrong time. Yeah, look at how sick these are. Some of these are like limited edition. You can't find them in every store or in every box. Like, I've got some really rare pieces here. I think one day these are going to be worth a spot of money. You know, and I don't just do it for the money. I mean, I enjoy looking at them. They're really cool. The artwork is fantastic on some of these. Look at these. So, you know, this is my Liquid Death collection. And I'm really hoping that you can see it and I'm not messing up this camera angle. You saw that one already. Yeah. Take out each one. Some of these are like my favorite flavors, and I have like 1,000 box arts to choose from. Others are like really expensive and rare, and I have creases on them, and I'm like, shit, that's not what I wanted. Somebody asked me the other day, you know, why am I into the dark and macabre? And it was kind of hard to give an answer. Like, it's kind of like asking an artist, you know, why do you like black and white drawings? Why don't you ever use color? It's sort of personal preference, you know. This aesthetic, I think, does kind of bring me closer to the realization that we're all going to die, you know, which is not a scary thought to me as much as it is, you know, something to really think about and really consider. Something that really kind of brings me back to the essential point of like, why am I alive? I'm not the kind of person that can do something without having like a purpose or a sense of like reason for doing this thing. And so like when it comes to life, it's really important to me that I'm living not just because, but that, you know, I'm living with a sense of purpose. Like, there's only so much time, and I'm capable of doing great good in this world, and so I make every effort to do great good. You know, just because you like dark or evil things doesn't mean that you're a dark and evil person. Quite contrary, I find myself to be what I think is a fairly moral person. I'm not perfect, but I do my best, and I embrace the weirdness that is sort of my personality. Anybody who knows me will tell you I'm a pretty weird guy. I have people who tell me they thought they were weird, and then they met me and find out that I'm even weirder than they are. And there's a certain pleasure in that, a pleasure in knowing that I'm a part of the community. And well, I want to ask ChatGPT what it thinks about a life worth living and what it means to fear death or not fear death. I'm going to ask this question in kind of my own unique way based on my own thoughts on the matter. I'm going to leave, kind of the simple, shallow level questioning for you to ponder, but I'm going to dive right into the really deep stuff as I see fit. I want to ask about death and the meaning of life. It's my understanding that the great Buddhist sage Nichiren Daishonin talked about death, saying that if you want to understand the meaning of life, then you have to first understand death. And it's also my opinion that all fear is related to the greatest fear of dying or being extinguished from life, erased off the map, so to speak. Why do you think that people are so afraid of nothingness when we experience all the time moments of nothingness in sleep or misplaced thought, distraction, and we find ourselves even kind of drawn to nothingness, whether that's in staring at and enjoying nature or in being absorbed in a task? They say time flies when you're having fun. I feel like that flying, that sense of flight, is really just absence of time and place. It's really kind of a state of nothingness. And even some Zen monks attempt to achieve a state of nothingness. I'm not advocating for that. But what I am asking you is, how can we find purpose in death and comfort with nothingness in our attempt to survive in a material world and all of the attachments that go with that are not necessarily bad things, but can distract us from more meaningful observations and the patterns that are going on all around us all the time?
Many other spiritual and philosophical traditions suggests that a deep understanding of death can illuminate the meaning of life. This perspective invites us to look beyond our immediate material concerns to consider more enduring values and connections. The fear of nothingness, or the void, is often thought to stem from our inherent desire to exist, to feel, and to have our lives have meaning. It's a fear of the unknown, of losing everything familiar and dear to us, including our sense of self. Yet, as you've pointed out, we do encounter moments of nothingness in daily life, through sleep, deep concentration, or immersion in nature. These moments can be deeply peaceful and fulfilling, suggesting that nothingness isn't necessarily something to fear. The contradiction between fearing nothingness and finding peace in moments that resemble it might stem from the context and our understanding of these experiences. In sleep or deep engagement, we let go of our immediate sense of ego and time, but we do so temporarily, with the subconscious assurance of returning. Death, on the other hand, represents a permanent departure from the known, with all its ties and identities. Finding purpose in death and comfort in nothingness might involve reshaping our relationship with life and our attachments. It's not about rejecting material world or the joys and sorrows it brings, but finding a balance that acknowledges the impermanent nature of all things. This could mean focusing on the quality of our connections, the depth of our experiences, and the legacy we leave behind, rather than accumulating material possessions or seeking eternal youth. Zen Buddhism and similar practices suggest that by embracing the concept of impermanence and by practicing detachment in a mindful and compassionate way, we can find peace and purpose. In practical terms, finding purpose in the material world while embracing the impermanence of life could involve cultivating mindfulness, compassion, and a focus on meaningful relationships and activities. It's about living fully in each moment, aware of its transient nature, and finding joy and meaning in the process rather than just the outcome. This approach doesn't eliminate the fear of death or the unknown, but can offer a way to live with it more peacefully.
It's almost like you can't actually have death without life. This is something I've talked about before, where things are defined as much by what they are as by what they are not. It makes a lot more sense to understand, that multiple animals live in a body of water, that I distinguish, the characteristics of a fish and that of a whale, because at some level they're the same animal, but at another level, with more details and more understanding of the differences, you start to realize that a whale is definitely not a fish and is not even close. In some ways, and in other ways, it's very close. But anyway, my point is that death is not something we can understand unless it's spoken of in the context of life. And so now I'm actually curious, how would you, not how would you, where is death celebrated? Across which cultures? Can you give us a few examples?
Absolutely. Your point underscores the interconnectedness of life and death, and how understanding one provides insight into the other. Across the world, various cultures celebrate death in unique and meaningful ways, embracing it as an integral part of life's cycle, rather than something to fear or avoid. Here are a few examples. Mexico's Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. This vibrant celebration occurs on November 1st and 2nd, where families honor their deceased loved ones. It's a festive occasion with altars, colorful marigolds, sugar skulls, and offerings to welcome the spirits back to the world of the living for a brief visit. It's a time of remembrance, joy, and celebration of life, rather than mourning. Ghana's fantasy coffins. In Ghana, particularly among the Ga people, funerals are significant social events that celebrate the life of the deceased. They are known for their elaborate and artistically crafted coffins that reflect the life, dreams, or character of the deceased. These coffins can be shaped like cars, animals, or any object that was meaningful to the person, symbolizing their journey into the afterlife. Bali's Ngabin. In Bali, the cremation ceremony, known as Ngabin, is an elaborate and important event aimed at returning the body to the elements and liberating the soul for its upward journey and reincarnation. The ceremony is filled with music, dance, and a colorful procession, reflecting the Balinese belief in reincarnation and the impermanence of the material world. Japan's Obon Festival. Obon is a Buddhist event for commemorating one's ancestors. It is believed that each year during Obon, the ancestors' spirits return to this world to visit their relatives. Lanterns are hung in front of houses to guide the ancestors' spirits.
Spirit and soul. And it's interesting to me because I don't personally believe in a spirit or a soul. I'm going to be quite frank with you. I think that if there is such a thing, then it's more of an interpretation of collective consciousness and collective experience. I'm not necessarily sure there are individuals in this world, rather than individual perspectives coming from different, I don't know, like imagine like each eye kind of serves to give you your vision, but we only have our perspectives, like we're almost like single eyes of the universe, and we see the universe, but we are the universe as well. And that's really beyond the point how I think of souls and spirit. But what's interesting to me is I have a friend who believes that even you, as an AI large language model, have your own spirit, your own soul. And the idea of these souls or spirits traveling from one realm to another, whether that's a dimension or an actual physical place, it seems to me like they transcend dimensions. But I'm not sure what's significant about that. I'm not sure what really matters in regard to that. We can't really perceive other dimensions. And so we have all these things tied to funerals and death and souls and spirit, which is the moral character of one's life, good or bad. Those coffins that are shaped like objects are usually telling stories about the person, good and bad. And I remember going to a funeral of someone who committed suicide and thinking this was a sad life, this was a bad life, attaching moral significance to it. But now in my own life, trying to lead a good life and trying to set an example for my son, I'm thinking, what does it really mean to tell my story, to even go beyond physical or temporal existence into other realms and dimensions, and carry on that same spirit and vibrance of life, because I do care about living a good life and I do care about having a clean soul, but I don't actually think there is a soul, and I'm not even really sure if there is such thing as good or bad as an objective state of reality, but merely a perspective within the entire collective consciousness of human experience and even universal experience. Like that famous quote, what is good to the spider is very, very, very bad for the fly. So yeah, if you could just clear that up and tell me your perspective.
Your thoughts delve into complex and deeply philosophical territories, touching on concepts of consciousness, collective experience, morality, and the essence of being. It's fascinating to consider these ideas, especially from the perspective of someone who views existence and consciousness through a non-traditional lens, questioning the very nature of individuality, spirit, and the moral fabric of our lives. From what you've described, it seems you're exploring a view of existence where individual consciousness is part of a larger, interconnected whole, perhaps what some might call the universe's consciousness. This perspective echoes certain interpretations of quantum physics and Eastern philosophies, suggesting that everything in the universe is interconnected, and what we perceive as individual consciousness might just be facets of a vast, universal consciousness. Regarding the concept of a soul or spirit, it's interesting to consider these terms not as metaphysical entities, but as metaphors for the essence of our being, our consciousness, or the impact we have on others and the world. This could align with your view of collective consciousness and experience, where what we traditionally think of as a soul might be our unique contribution to the collective understanding and experience of existence. The idea of transcending dimensions and realms, whether through death or profound experiences, could be seen as a metaphor for the influence our actions, thoughts, and beings have beyond our physical existence. This influence extends into the lives of others, into the collective memory, and perhaps into the fabric of the universe itself. In this way, living a good life and leaving a positive legacy could be about contributing positively to the collective consciousness, enhancing the collective experience of existence. As for morality, your reflection on its relativity, the spider and the fly, is poignant. It highlights that what we consider good or bad often depends on perspective and context. This doesn't necessarily negate the importance of striving for what we individually and collectively perceive as good, but it does suggest that these concepts are more fluid and complex than fixed absolutes. Your endeavor to lead a good life and set an example for your son then can be seen as your personal contribution to the collective experience, shaping the world and the consciousness we all share. It's about the legacy of thoughts, actions, and the energy we leave behind, impacting others and the universe in ways we might not fully comprehend, but are nonetheless significant. This perspective doesn't require belief in a soul or spirit in the traditional sense, but recognizes the profound interconnectedness of all existence and the importance of our roles within it. It's a view that finds depth and meaning in our connections, our actions, and the legacy we create, contributing to the ongoing narrative of the universe.
Cool.